So Lily, tell me, you saw it around the same time?
No, I saw it
A year later.
a couple of years later.
So
I
tell
had
me,
met I met Jane in '71, and a mutual friend brought her to my hotel. I was on tour. I just had a new album come out on Polydor, and
was
they
that
were-
before Modern Scream?
What?
Modern Scream hadn't.
Yeah, Modern Scream, and well, how could Modern Scream have come out?
No, I mean before Modern
I thought we
Scream.
worked on
We
Modern
did work
Scream.
on that. You had Ernestine.
Well, I had Ernestine, but that
No,
was
that was the one that you'd come to New York to promote.
which one?
Ernestine.
Ernestine.
Oh, I thought I'd come to do.
No.
Okay, yeah, because I know we did Modern
Scream,
we did
yeah.
Modern Scream
What our
together.
life was like.
You know.
Well, anyway, whatever happened.
Yes.
I met Jane, and I fell for her immediately. I just fell in love with her as soon as I saw her.
Can you share with the folks what she was wearing that day
Well,
that you remember?
I hate to tell you, she was wearing like blue suede, dark navy blue suede short shorts.
Hot pants.
What?
Hot pants. Remember they were called hot pants?
Oh, hot pants. Yeah.
Yes.
And she had knee-high stretchy boots. And she had a little backpack. Yeah, you had that little backpack.
I was experimenting with designing clothes.
She
at
was
that point.
experimenting with designer clothes, she says.
Yes.
Well, she,
Because my songs weren't selling. and I had to have
well, she
another
did
career.
design clothes.
Yes.
But,
she
and
may
you,
but
be-
better than what she just described.
yes.
Oh,
And you
gosh.
flipped?
I flipped for her, yeah.
Yeah.
And but I had to. It was amazing. I had to like really show out. I had to schedule a show. I had closed at the bitter end, and so I made an extra show to try to impress her. She didn't have any idea who I was. I was on Laugh-In and everything, and my Ernestine album had I won yet, or anyway, it had been nominated. Maybe
Came to
I'd
New York
won.
to
I don't know.
promote it, but anyway.
Anyway, so and I absolutely I called her. I said I didn't fly in those days. I'd had so many friends who died, who'd OD'd and everything, and I wouldn't even get on a plane. So I was taking the train back to Chicago the night after the party that the record company, and I as soon as I hit that town, I jumped on a plane and flew back to say, because I had like a day off before I started the show. And I called her and I said, I don't really have a lot of time. And I wanted to see her so badly, you know, and I did get a date with her.
And it turns out to be it worked out well.
It worked out well.
Yes. I wanted to, one of the things that I love about your connection, of course, is the work. And I wondered, after you saw JT, how did you know that she could...
Well, it was JT. Then I went back home to California, and I was trying to get her to come out and stay in California, visit me or something. And I saw JT finally. I had gotten somebody to give me a copy of it or something, and I saw it, and I just was floored, because it was everything I looked for in a monologue,
Yes.
which I never could find. And it was tender, it was satiric, it was informative, it was humorous, it was everything. People talked in aphorisms, and yet they seemed perfectly natural.
Yes.
And it was like some kind of heightened realism, and it moved the story along, everything. It was...
That was because it was supposed to be a song.
You know, that's true.
Yes. Yes.
Anyway, so I just loved, so I called her and asked her to come to California. I had to do my Edith Ann album, and I asked her to come and help me produce it. And she sent me some raggedy papers with notes all over it and scribblings. She still writes that way to this day. Yes. But I had no trouble deciphering it.
You
And
just knew the language.
And I still type to this day. I type all
Yes.
her scribblings.
Everything.
And I find every little scrap of paper around the house, there'd be like, and when she's in the middle of a project, there's like Post-its like pinned to the wall and to lampshades. Then there'll be one that fell off and it's laying on the rug and I know it would be lost forever. And I find it and,
Type it up.
yeah, type it up. That's
Yes.
right.
This working on the record, of course, then led to the specials. We saw a clip from the first special with Richard,
With Richard, first two with Richard.
the first two, and
Because I adored Richard and Jane too.
one of the things that you told me was a very important story, I think, for people to hear about how the industry treated him at that point.
Yeah.
And I think we can talk about it, and I think it would be important for people to know.
Okay.
It's not to self-aggrandize, but to show how you and Jane have always fought for the right thing. I just want people to hear that.
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, he was a guest on the show. Don't let me interfere. If you've
No.
got something to offer
I think
about
you
it.
fought for him more than I did, really.
Well, I think you were probably more busy. I was out on the stage and dealing with the executives and everything anyway. And
Richard wasn't very.
Put your mic-
honey, the
Your
microphone.
mic, sweetheart.
Your microphone.
I'm sorry.
Richard wasn't that ingratiating. Contrary, that's what Richard would do.
Yes.
That's the way he wasn't very ingratiating to the executives or to us, really.
Oh, he was to
He
me.
loved-
To
I
Lulu.
know, and he loved you, and he believed it, and he loved me too. I know, but he didn't love the network people, and it showed. And so there was no. He didn't try to woo them over or anything like that. And
Or just he
so
didn't even try to behave,
Right.
which.
In fact, he was awful to them sometimes.
Yes,
He
yes.
really was rude.
No, wait,
But-
here, the first special, he came in and he had his hair in cornrows and he had it braided with white leather.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that was white people's skin. he was telling everybody on the set, And of course, I thought everything he did was funny. And the executives were like really dancing around, like what, and they're talking to, the people who are like the fronts for the show, that they always want somebody that they can relate to. And that, I guess, was not me or Richard or Jane. It was
Right.
somebody more with a suit and tie on or something.
Yes.
And so,
There was always somebody at the network, though, that
was like-
not usually in the power position, but that would come through to us. Steve Hewitt, in this case.
yeah, no, but the thing is, when we were shooting Juke and Opal, they came with the set. We suddenly the rehearsal was stopped, or the taping was stopped, and I said, well, and I was so long. I said to somebody, well, where is everybody? What's going on? And I went out in the hall, and all the suits were down there, talking to the executive producers, and they wanted us to stop taping. They wanted to stop this sketch right now. And it was just unimaginable that we could stop it. Jane wrote it specifically for Richard,
Yes.
so he'd have something great to do on the show.
Yes.
And we loved it anyway. And when we edited
it wasn't
that,
that threatening, as you can see.
It's
No.
it's threatening if you don't have a heart. Sorry. Carry on, Lily.
anyway, so, and I kept saying, I said, you'll see, let us finish it. It'll be wonderful when you see it. And then what we came to know about to do it, I'd learned this from George Slaughter on Laugh-In, and that was to tape something else and use it as a bargaining chip.
Yes. Yes. And that's
And
War
that's-
Games.
In War Games. We taped War Games, and then I said, well, so when they'd really get down on us, I'd say, all right, well, we'll give up War Games if we can keep Juke and Opal.
It's amazing. And also there's something that I hope there would be wide distribution of these specials, because one of the things that Lily's not telling you is that the executives didn't want her to kiss Richard goodnight.
Oh yeah, well that's just totally stupid.
And at the end of the special, she says, "I just want to thank all my guests." And she goes around and she says, "And especially Richard Pryor." And she lays a big one on him. And he just falls out. And that's the end of the show. And it was just an amazing moment. I think we need to see War Games to see what the bargaining chip was.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to run that? Thank you. Little treats.
So they were glad to do Juke and Opal after that.
Yes.
What was that?
It was just the end of the row. But after that, Jane, they were happy to have Juke and Opal on?
Yeah.
Yes.
That seems sentimental after this. But as I said, there was always somebody at the network that they sort of fought for us, or somebody like, there was Steve Haskell who came over to tell us we had to cut something and ended up being in the sketch. You know. Sam Haskell.
Yes, Sam Haskell.
And, we mentioned Steve Hewitt. And
Honey.
what am I doing that's different?
Well, you're
from
laying
There you go. That's it.
No.
That's it.
You are such pros.
Yes.
Okay, well, anyway, it's so awkward. I guess I want to talk to you all, too. But anyway, there was always, I remember those people, but I can't think of their names now except Sam Haskell and
So there was some
but there were always
form of
people that
protection.
were on our side.
Yes.
But they weren't powerful enough to make a difference, you know,
Yes.
very often, you know.
They got into positions of power, but I don't know.
How
I
did
never
how
thought
did-
of it as too much. They were running a network and they had certain things.
But you
that-
were a little bit like Richard sometimes. You didn't ingratiate yourself either. So it felt to me a
I
lot
was
of
very
times
diplomatic.
being political.
Yes. Yes. How did it come about, Lily, to do the first special? You had been on Laugh-In. You had done your records.
Yeah.
Jane was working with you by then because of Edith Ann.
Right.
And how did the first specials? Whoever has a lot of power and money out there has to re-release them. They're amazing. How did they come about, Lily?
I got very high ratings on my. I had a first special.
Yes.
That came from CBS. I don't know. CBS just seemed to be, or maybe they were looking for another Carol Burnett or something. I don't know what they were thinking.
I think they were thinking that they thought they knew you had talent, and I think I pushed you into another direction sometimes. I think.
Oh yeah, you definitely did.
But
But I'd done Ernestine and Edith, and they were big. They were very popular, and so they just naturally gave me a special. I can't remember.
Ernestine won a Grammy.
Yes.
She was very popular on Laugh-In. And then when I entered the picture, the next album that we did, she didn't win a Grammy, and you know.
Right.
Well, that's true. I didn't win a Grammy again. I won that one
You
Grammy.
didn't have to bring everything. Like,
So the Lily special that you had done.
So the first special I did, I had a partner. We had a partner.
because they wouldn't do it probably without a kind of suit.
Oh yeah, they wanted somebody, and so naturally, my first time out, I had to have a partner, and I had Ed Sullivan's son-in-law. I can't think of his name now.
Right.
Bob Precht.
Bob Precht, and so Jane had written Juke and Opal for the first special. This was on
Wow.
our second special, and when the script came back from the network, all covered with red things and X's, and I said, "Well, where's Juke and Opal?" And Bob said, "Oh, they're not going to let you do that." So I just was beside myself, and so then I got another special because my ratings were so immensely high. There were only the 3 networks, and wasn't that hard to get a high rating. So I had really, I'm sorry for my back all the time. I have to keep my eye on Jane and that microphone. And so they gave me another special, a second special. And Freddie Silverman was the head of CBS in those days. And
Freddie Silverman had done JT. Oh my God!
Yeah.
no, it's so hard. That's
let
why.
me just-
It's good. You know why on Broadway they wear those mics in their hair and it sits down on their forehead wherever
Let me
they
just
move.
listen.
So I don't know. I'm telling this whole.
But it was
history.
it's because the industry was so small then.
Yeah.
That people were interconnected on various shows.
That's right.
So if you had a friend on one, he could be or she work on the other.
I don't know what that means,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, Jane gets it.
I did.
would you say that?
Yeah,
What did that mean, honey?
Just like Freddie Silverman was on.
Oh, he was head of children's programming in '69.
and that's what he
When
was
she
connected to
did
JT.
JT.
So
I don't know what his personal reaction was to JT. I mean, you may
Oh,
be
he
giving
took
him
me to
too
lunch.
much credit.
He took me to lunch.
Well, good. Well, he didn't treat us so kindly on our second special,
No,
which won
we
2
didn't take
Emmys.
either one of us to lunch after that. I
And
never
so
saw him again.
no, well, it was the show was really good. We were really proud of it, and this time we got Juke and Opal on.
yes,
And so one day, and we filmed War Games again.
yes.
We knew that we might have to resort to the same old thing again.
Bag of
but
tricks.
We were prepared this time.
Yes.
So,
And
mean,
what were the were specials? Were they once or twice a year? Did they come on when you had a special?
the first one came on in March of '73, and the second one came on in November.
Okay.
And that was just a great. So, and Alan Alda was our guest in that Juke and Opal sketch.
That's
And
right.
Alan was wonderful.
Yeah,
Yes.
He really stood up from as we were having conflict again, and Alan told.
Well, he went to lunch with Freddie Silverman. He went to another
Yes.
because MASH was just going to come on the air, and Alan said,
What a great
without
working
knowing,
experience
yeah,
it had been.
he had no knowledge of anything that Freddie was going to not show our special. He was going to shelve it. He screamed at me and my manager and said all kinds of awful things.
He did?
Oh yeah,
I didn't know that.
I was trying to protect you. And so
Alan went to lunch with.
And Alan just innocently said, "Oh, I had the greatest experience on Lily Tomlin's special."
Yeah.
And
He just loved it.
yeah, and anyway, it was so much. It was better than what you usually saw on variety television.
Yes.
I mean, some people might think, not everybody.
That's
And,
what Alan said.
Everybody thinks.
And so then Freddie rethought it and he put us on at 10 o'clock after Barbara Streisand's special.
I didn't know when it was, really.
Yeah.
Yes.
What?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Oh gosh. Well, I guess they might have thought I was doing Opal, but I didn't have any gizmo on.
Exactly. You were doing the soul of the character, and that's what's profound about it.
Barbara saying I've got rhythm. I knew something was controversial, but I didn't.
Listen, you had your
I
own
didn't
show to
look at
worry
her
about.
Special, frankly.
And you had your own show to worry about.
I did. I was worried about my show.
Yes. I wanted to ask you something about making the transition from screened to stage, because then several years went by and there was Appearing Nightly, which is another film to re-release, please, and incredible.
Well, Jane was so darling because, I kept saying I just can't do one-nighters. I'm just tired of it, and I get a good review in a city, and then I would leave the next morning before the review even came out, and Jane would say, "Well, you've got to legitimize yourself," and I said, "Well, how's a kid supposed to do that?" And she told me we had to go and play in a theater.
Wow.
For an like a week or 2 weeks or something. And so I got my art. You couldn't get a theater back in those days that easy, a good theater. I mean, so the Biltmore, which was in kind of run down, we got the Biltmore finally, and over on 8th Avenue, and anyway, so we really just compiled a lot of stuff that we'd been doing, and
When you were on the road doing those one-nighters, were you working on the phone with Jane?
Yeah, very
to
often.
developing the characters.
Oh yes. So.
Because Jane didn't travel with you.
Very occasionally she did, and then when we did the search, she traveled with us all the time.
Of course.
So then the search, she wrote the search solely. That's her play.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
But but appearing, I want to go back to appearing nightly because it was.
it was
again,
it was a huge hit.
And it's
We had
transformative, and
a
also
lot of fun doing that.
I would like someone who's a very clever publisher out there to publish it. But tell me, Lily, those characters had been people that you were working on the road, and Jane made a context for the one evening?
Well, she wrote many of the pieces too.
Okay.
We just had a few pieces that were worthy of doing, and we pulled them in. And I'd never appeared on Broadway, so it was a whole new terrain for me. And Jane wrote the '60s piece, the extended piece about growing up in the 1960s. And
we had a lot of fun. Nobody seemed to be there to give us. We didn't have conflict.
You had more freedom.
More freedom in the theater, and
Yes.
it's so much better for her because
It's a writer's medium.
You can speak words so well.
Yes. And
If you
Jane,
can speak them.
I've always wanted to ask you this. One of the Rolling Stone had you on the cover then, Lily, when it was coming to Broadway, and
With Richard.
yes, and one of the things Lily did for people who were waiting to buy tickets was to dress as a Red Cross nurse and hand out coffee and donuts.
Oh yeah.
And when I went to see Lily backstage when the search was revived on Broadway, she was standing at the door making sure that everybody was warm and was a nurse again.
Yeah, right. And I was getting like a little too mature to do.
There was one time you vacuumed the stage.
Yes.
Well, that's when we first started appearing nightly. We started in Boston. I mean, that was like my first theater prior to Broadway.
And was it a relief to be in one place for you for a while?
Yes, it was great.
Yes.
And we had this strange idea that we had carpeting done like a big carpet, like a photographic drop,
Yes.
carpet going up like that. And so Mrs. Beasley, don't tell me, we only did this for 2 or 3 evenings. Because I would come out with a big old vacuum with a backpack.
Like a performance artist.
Yes.
And dressed in Mrs. Beasley's costume, which I never did in the theater. And I vacuuming the rug, and then I'd have like a long, a hose, and I'd pull it off, and I'd reach up and get a big glob of dust off the backdrop, and it took me a half hour to. So by 7:30, when people really started filling up the theater,
You were exhausted.
I was a wrinkled, sweaty mess.
So funny.
And so then I leave the stage like that, and then I need a little more time. So then we'd have one of the stagehands would be outside banging on the side door after the curtain came up.
Yes.
And saying, in Trudy's voice, saying, and I had my mic on, I'm up in this dressing room trying to press my clothes, and I'm saying, let me in, I gotta see Lillian Tomlinson. It was just totally nuts.
I don't even know why we had fun with that, but
We only had fun in our heads.
Yeah.
yeah, I know.
Really,
The audience didn't get it. It was indulgent, but
No. We love it still.
Well, we didn't open with it. We stopped.
No.
Smartly.
I wanted to ask you, Jane, about some of the characters that no one else in the world could have written, like Rick, the singles bar guy. I just had never seen a character like that in my whole life before.
And Lily playing it was so wonderful.
Extraordinary.
You know.
How did Rick come to you?
I think
he's in
through
the film, we'll
her
see.
performance, she was ad-libbing some stuff like that, and like Rick going over to a table and saying to two girls, you know, what are you chicks doing here all alone?
Right.
Two girls, you know.
4 girls.
4 girls? Okay.
Yeah.
4 girls. And she was doing some ad-libbing with that, and it just became such a good character.
And I always wanted to ask, sometimes if Lily was improvising, the character would grow out of the improvisation, and sometimes just the writing.
The other way.
I see, I see.
And
This would only be when, you know, like Jane would be at home, not even realizing I wasn't there at the moment. No, she'd be writing something of her own, something on her, you know, and then I started desperately needing her help. When I was going to do Trudy, I would just beg her. I'd say, look, I've got this idea, this bag woman, and I would just take stuff from the Inquirer, you know, and I would say like, yeah, you know, I got a 2-minute, I met a guy who's got a 2-minute memory. Every trip to the bathroom is a fresh experience. And so I did all that for Jane, and then she'd write something to make me leave her alone. And that's how I got evidence, because Trudy would find out. I got evidence. People say I'm crazy, but I got evidence.
Wow.
I got evidence I'm not so crazy. And so then eventually Trudy turned into a major character, and thanks to Jane's writing.
Jane, I wanted, after we watch this clip, I want to ask you how you feel about these 7 free women that we're about to see. This very short film, again, I can't remember how, I guess it was 15 or something, and it was on SNL. They showed it on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, I was going to be a guest on SNL, and we were going to use it to promote the
play.
Appearing Nightly.
And if you
see it?
I did because it's your ear. You cannot mistake your language for anybody else's language in the world. So let's watch this, okay? And tell me if I'm crazy. Like Trudy.
I haven't seen this in
Cynthia Buchanan wrote The Paraplegic, we should say.
Yes.
Quadriplegic.
She's a wonderful writer. Her novel,
yeah.
Maiden.
Yes,
is a
I
great
optioned
book.
that for
Did
a
you?
movie. Yeah. In 71.
Read that book, guys. It's amazing. And
Yeah.
so how was it,
Very much like Tomlin.
how was it, Jane, when you would see the characters on stage in New York, because you guys were in one place? Were you rewriting throughout? You would always add or take away? Yeah.
Gosh, I hadn't seen that in so long.
I know, I
We did
haven't.
it before. We didn't do it through that show.
No.
We did it. We had it done.
This is
we
for
did
and
it
it
on
was
our
on
own.
SNL.
And then Lauren,
Picked it up.
picked it
Yeah.
up. Yeah. Lauren had done work. We had done one of the
Yeah,
specials.
Lauren had
for
been
her.
on a couple of
Yeah.
our specials
Yeah.
Yes.
as a
He
writer.
was a really good talent. I mean, he was a great talent. So,
Yes.
but I didn't want to distract you from what you were going to.
No.
say. But
You were just talking about what you would do during the show.
during what show?
Appearing nightly.
Oh, I loved doing Appearing Nightly. It didn't seem to have the weight of The Search. It seemed
No,
to
no,
have.
it didn't. It was new, and we put it.
Yes.
You just threw it. We pulled it together in no time.
It was
But I had the
playful.
art already done. I
Yeah.
knew I had to have my art.
Done.
What about my art? Wait a minute. What about my art?
Well, your art was good. It was going along nicely.
'Cause that's
No,
what
I
we
had
used
to have
fight over.
the sheet
For the
to
ads
make
and everything
posters
and
for
posters.
ads.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Oh.
sorry,
Oh,
honey.
you're talking
No.
about that art.
Yeah, then
Oh.
you.
Yeah. What was the time? Was the search? Did the search grow out of this experience, Jane, that you wanted to write something?
I think
Organic.
that was a really good experience. That was a good experience, and I wanted to do something. We just had more freedom in the theater, you know. could just say, so how long was it after appearing nightly?
The search was in '85,
And how long was it appearing nightly?
77.
Oh, well, that was too long, I guess, but
it's
Well,
perfect.
not really.
No. How was it? Well, you were doing films the whole time, Lily, in between.
Film? I don't remember which films I did.
you did 9 to 5.
I did 9 to 5. We did Incredible Shrinking Woman. I did Nashville. I did Late Show.
Incredible Shrinking Woman took so much longer than we realized, because you, in the garbage, when you fell through the garbage thing, you got allergic to some of that garbage.
It had so much dye in it, you know.
You were out for months because of the allergy.
Well, I was shooting 9 to 5. I was shooting Shrinking Woman, and we stopped it so I could go to 9 to 5.
Yeah, that was bad.
No. It worked out in
Then
both
we came
cases.
back and finished it.
Yes. Tell me about I want to show the folks something that they might not have seen much of in '94, which is when you did the Edith Ann cartoon. And again.
No, I think it was at 94.
That's the date I had. Was it Thomas? Where is he?
I don't have the date for anything.
I think it was about 94.
I don't even know. I know when I was at the Brill Building, and that's the last date I know.
It was, again, it was sort of taking this form that people would expect something conventional in and doing something entirely different. So I wanted to show this little clip where Edith Ann goes to her shrink. And the shrink is played by a friend of ours who's here today, Miss Reno.
Reno.
Reno's our old pal.
Yes. Can we take a look at that clip, please? Edith Ann.
Oh, you know, we had so many actresses, really big stars, read for that part, and Reno was the only one that really got it. Yeah, I don't know why.
We were reading for so many people. Everybody, they'd come over to the house, and I had a mic set up in the living room, and I'd say, "Here, read the Psychologist for Edith Ann."
And some of them were friends, and I use the past tense because they aren't in. But Reno just fit it so perfectly.
Yeah, Edith was so. I mean, Reno was just irreverent. She treated the kid like she was a real person.
Yeah.
Yes. Well,
I've seen her use that same technique with me.
When you were going from this idea of doing it as a cartoon, how did it come to you to do it to do Edith Ann?
We wanted to do. We did the album the first time we worked together.
Yes.
That was a great experience. We were in Pasadena for some reason, and it was New Year's.
Yeah.
We saw a parade suddenly. We didn't even know what it was. We were so disoriented about working, and we were so high on the work experience, and we were so happy working on that album. And
Jane was just mad for sound effects.
Yes.
And that album is laden with sound effects. You know, it's.
You'd think I'd know more about the mic. But we had a great time.
It was a 12-track album.
Yes.
It was.
But we had a great time with the special. I always wanted 3 dimensions, which of course Pixar now, you know, they can do anything. They've got like cuteness in cartoons is like a science.
Yeah.
They know how to get all the nuance. I even saw, what is it, Pet 2. Anyway, we loved the cartoon. We loved.
We loved that. We loved you know, everybody. At first, when we started doing Edith, they would say,
Why do it as a cartoon?
Yeah. Why are you doing this when we were trying to do it in 3D? We loved.
We had people
loved,
working claymation, you know, down.
Little movements. We loved that little character.
They may still be down in the basement working. We never saw them at one point. We
built Edith's whole neighborhood in clay.
Wow.
Really?
It was too early.
Except for Nick Parks. He did
Yes.
brilliant play work, but anyway, it never did materialize. Then meanwhile, of course, all this technology developed. We were pushing the technology,
Yes.
and it never. We didn't push hard enough or something. We didn't. Somehow, all of this happened with Pixar. John Lasseter did such brilliant work.
And John Lasseter, when he was just starting out, he'd only done the two, the lamps was his most prominent piece. And we went to him, we wanted him to do something on our show. We were in the formative stages, and he said, oh God, I can't, all I could do would maybe I could do like a 10 or 15 second bit.
Yeah.
He would only have the time and the money to do I don't know what he was gonna do, but it would have been wonderful, but.
Anyway, we did.
So it
We did
preceded-
have a lot of fun with those cartoons. I
It
loved
preceded the context for people to understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you saw it. You had real objects in the
Yes.
cartoon. You were the first people who did that.
That's right.
Like when you opened the refrigerator, there was an actual.
How did she know that?
And when but somehow people just didn't care about it. I mean, people didn't try to do it
Right.
that we were working with, who were the animators.
Is it
In
something
fact,
that you would
I
try
was-
now?
What?
Is it something you would try now?
Oh yeah,
I
love
guess,
the
yeah.
form. I
Okay.
love the form.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know if it would be such a big deal. It's just something. It's just textural.
But the
I
but the
always
char-
wanted
but the character.
photographs, real photographs to give a reality, and then have. the
Yes.
But they
cartoon.
do that all the time now. I mean, they'll have. We even did it in our search film.
But I think that one of the things that I'm trying to say is the characters are without time, and we have loved them for 45 years, 50 years now. Why wouldn't we want to see them
Oh.
evolve into present-day medium?
Oh. Well, that's a thought.
I want to see.
It's one less
I-
thing we have to do.
Yeah, I want to see. I want to see Rick meet a nice girl, for instance, and I wanted to carry on in that way because it means so much to so many people. That the stories don't end just because the program ends. They live with people.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you something in terms of Jane's writing. Again, I had the television on, and the minute it started, I heard your words. And this is, some guys might remember this from the 2006 Oscars when Jane wrote the dialogue for Meryl Streep and Lily Tomlin in the style of Robert Altman. So we're going to take a look.
Well, then we did have a rehearsal, but it was because we had the words on a prompter, and all we did is we kind of ad-libbing them. I mean, we had, she went, because at the rehearsal, she had the peyote button line. And anyway,
Jane
but
is
that's how
brilliant.
it felt.
Excuse me, Altman did have a special sound. Altman did have the special sound system. He did.
Yes.
I think he got it from smoking a lot of marijuana because it suddenly.
Yes.
And you all captured that at the very end.
Yes.
It sounded like there's an audio thing, like something like if you had good pot, suddenly some little audio thing would happen.
Some revelation,
and
audio
audio
revelation.
and Altman did have a system that that was trying to create that and did. And I don't know why I don't know more about Mike because I'm a sound expert really. We're listening.
Yes.
Well, Jane put all the sound effects in search. I mean, that was
That's
her
right.
idea.
But
to
the
do
sound
that.
But I
effects
didn't
are-
do it with Mike.
Right. But the sound effects are in the words here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That brings us back to the beginning of the word, and that is Miss Jane Wagner. And Jane, I am eternally grateful for your mind and your heart. You're a brilliant woman,
Thank you.
brilliant, and more than deserving.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I want to just tell you about the sensitivity of these two. I met them because I was writing a piece about Richard Pryor for The New Yorker, and they agreed to talk to me. And when I went to the restaurant, it was a restaurant sort of in Hollywood, but sort of on the edges, and it was run by a Cuban family. And I realized sitting there that they were all people of color in the restaurant, which never happens in LA, right? And they had set this up so that I would feel comfortable, and that they would be able to talk, and they loved the family.
That's true.
Yes.
I think we went there all the time.
Floridita. Oh, Floridita for
Yeah,
me.
Floridita.
El Floridita. But then on the way to my hotel, you were taking me back to my hotel, and Lily said, "I don't know why they like me so much. She's the blonde, and you're the blonde." Thank you, Jane, for everything.
Sounds a little racist to me.
No. Wait, is it me also?
Well, I am from the
Yes.
South.
I love you very much.
Oh, God, thank you.
And
for
Lily,
this. Thank you all for coming.
Lily, thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.